Now, Trade Union Federation Cosatu has called for the immediate removal of acting Eskom CEO Jabu Mabuza and the entire Eskom board. Cosatu says it's noted with concern an Eskom report that it expects to lose another 20 billion rand next year. This after a reported loss of 21 billion rand over the last financial year. In a statement, Cosatu demanded the immediate removal of senior managers and the entire board because it believed they were worsening an already dire situation at Eskom. Well, to discuss this call by Eskom, we're joined by Mike Shingange, the first Deputy President of Cosatu. Thank you for being with us, Mr. Shingange. So, Jabu Mabuza has only been acting CEO for a few months. Are you looking back at his track record as chair, etc.?
Yes, good evening. Thanks for having us. Of course, we're looking backwards at that, not only as chair. Remember, it was scandalous, which Cosatu called it, when he was appointed as acting CEO at the same time doubling up as a chairperson. In other words, the term that is accounted to have lost the 20 billion plus 1.5 billion that is unaccounted for. It's because of him as a CEO, but also as a chairperson, in other words, accounting to himself. That's one part. But you remember that the Jabu Mabuza, he came to Eskom straight from Telkom, wherein also oversaw the job losses that took place in that institution from 50,000 workers to about 7,000 as we speak now since 1994. So we're looking at both those areas. But also, if you have listened to him yesterday when he was appearing in Parliament, he didn't sound confident when he was asked by MP whether he has a plan to turn around the situation. He didn't say that he doesn't think that thing can be rescued. He didn't think that they think they can rescue this thing themselves going forward. The only thing is that they cannot be blamed for not trying. Now, we cannot have a person who does not have confidence to himself, to his management, because he's speaking as both as the chair of the board, but also as the CEO. So he does not even have confidence to his management and also to his board of directors.
So incompetence is one thing, lack of confidence is one thing, but you're also saying that they're deliberately sabotaging Eskom. Basically, you're saying the mismanagement of the power utility forms part of an underhanded ploy. Can you explain that? It's a very serious claim.
We've been raising this thing over and over again, that even when the state will and the taxpayers will fork up billions of rands to try and bail out these SOEs, there doesn't seem to be a commitment on the part of those who manage it and the part of those who govern it to try and spend and manage that money effectively in making sure that they turn around the situation. Like I'm saying, if you listen to Jabu Mabuza yesterday, when he was asked about this thing of the Eskom is tenable, he did say that he thinks this thing must be sold. It must be sold because it's something that he has always believed in, even when he was in Telkom, even when he first came as a chairperson of the board, the first thing that he pronounced was that he's going to lay off workers. Even when the president yesterday...
But let's be clear, you're saying they're not fixing things because then it could be privatized, etc., which is basically sabotage. That's what I was saying. That's what I was saying. That's even when he is asked. Remember, this board was put as an interim board 2 years ago, or let me say January last year, on an urgent basis. In fact, if you remember, the president was on his way to Davos when the investors were saying that they're actually going to take put all their investment. It was an urgent that this board must be announced in order to rescue us. So 2 years later, they've not done anything. That they don't have a plan that is anything that is outside selling the power utility, something which the government has confirmed yesterday that it's in fact not a policy of government. His performance, though, as head of Eskom will affect his reputation. Why would Jabu Mabuza risk his reputation for a privatization agenda?
Well, we don't know. Perhaps there are other masters that they're serving. We will not know. Because, like I'm saying, it's not like he will be starting at Eskom. I've just given you his track record in Telkom.
And do you have a better candidate for Eskom CEO? Because it's been one of the struggles that this country has faced, to find people to fill this. We
don't believe that the South Africans do not have capable people. The problem we're having is the recycling of people who have failed before. We had to go and get somebody who has failed at Telkom and bring him here. That's number one. But at the moment, we're not talking about Jabu Mabuza as a person alone. We're talking about his entire board. We're talking about him as a CEO, not only as a CEO, but also as a chairperson of the board. Our view is that they don't seem to have a plan. They don't seem to have ideas. They seem to have run out of ideas. The government have given them now, to the next period ahead, 59 billions. They've put in conditions in which they want them to satisfy before that man can be given. We don't think that these people are capable enough to be able to fulfill those conditions. So we don't want that man of the taxpayers once again to go and fall into the hands of the people who by themselves are projecting to lose 20 billion. They have lost 21 billion now. They're projecting to lose 20 billion in the next year, and they want to give them 59 billion now. We put conditions there. They are saying to you in Parliament, we don't think they have got any plan to turn this thing around unless you sell it. We can't put our money in the hands of such people.
What is your response to the argument that the very reason for Eskom's mess is that there's been a churn of leadership? There were 11 CEOs in 10 years, board changes. Now you're saying it must all change again.
They've proven themselves that they can do the work. Perhaps for the first time, what we are beginning to see when the state puts its money into any SOE, that like it has done in SABC, they are beginning to put strict conditions that unless you fulfill the following conditions, you're not going to be given the funding. So our view is that now we need men and women who are going to be committed to say we are committed to fulfilling and making sure that we implement all the conditions in order for us to get bailed out. The state has for a very long time not played necessarily an oversight role on making sure that it clamps and manages those who are charged with the responsibilities to manage Eskom or any other SOEs or to govern it as a board of governors. This time around, over and above the fact that those who have looted, those who have corrupted it, to date no one has been found responsible or held accountable or even been jailed, or even the assets that they've accumulated wrongfully, so they've not been taken to task. The workers and the taxpayers continue to pump money into the bottomless pit. We think that it must stop, and if it must stop with this management, it must stop now.
All right, we're running out of time, but you said there are no ideas here. According to many, what we need is a radical solution for Eskom, and there are ideas on the table. But Cosatu itself, rejecting any job losses, you're rejecting the unbundling, however it works. You reject any sort of private investment, even though the president said yesterday it won't mean privatization. Government can keep full control. If Eskom is fundamentally broken, and you won't allow it to be fixed, and then are you not blaming the managers for a structural problem?
South Africa has a litany of evidence that the private sector has not succeeded in rescuing the failing SOEs. We're not starting privatizing now. We've privatized a number of SOEs, including SAA, including Telkom, including Transnet. There's no evidence that says that when you put the state-owned entities or some state-owned entities into the hands of private, therefore you're going to get efficiencies. Our view is that you can't.
Not an example of a formerly state-owned company doing better? Government kept a big stake, but private shareholders were allowed to come on board as well.
Are you saying this is doing better now? Are you saying it's that affordable?
Have there not been improved efficiencies?
We don't think so. Over and above the fact that it has actually lost a lot of jobs. It's 7,000 workers now from 50,000 in going unemployment. Of course, we agree, and we are glad that the president once and for all came forward and say they are not thinking of retrenching workers, because also sending people into the pool of unemployment in this country can be a solution for any institution, for any economy, or for any SOEs for that matter.
I don't think anyone wants jobs lost. It's the last thing we want. But the World Bank said that Eskom has 66% too many workers. 66%. Eskom said earlier this year of 48,000, 16,000 people didn't need to be there. That affects everybody if we're all paying for Eskom and for workers that don't need to be there. At what point do we say we have to let workers go?
The problem that we have had in South Africa over and over.
You're saying not one must go.
No, not one must go. In fact, we may agree that people must be reskilled, because we're entering in an era where perhaps new skills are needed, upskilling. We might agree that people must be redeployed, but you can't, when you have got the state-owned institutions that must lay off people, when you have got a government that has got 120,000 vacancy rates. You can't have a Eskom, for instance, that can be redeployed to distribution or from transmission to distribution, or even some municipality department that they have to deal with electricity. You just simply say you going to send them home. Because why? Because you have mismanaged money, because you can't account for 1.5 billion. It doesn't say that 1.5 billion was lost because it paid workers. It doesn't say that the 20 billion that it's lost because it paid workers. It's a money that is unaccounted for. It's lost revenue after tax. It is not a fault of workers. What we oppose is that workers must be the one that everyone runs into in order for them to take the bait when everything else has failed. In particular, when those who are given powers to manage, and including taking home huge bonuses every year, even when the company is running at a loss. And then you go into this poor worker that is supposed to be giving the service delivery to our people, and so they are the ones who must go home. We can't agree to that, and we're clear that no one in government seems to be agreeing on that.
Very quickly, what will you do if nothing changes, if Jabu Mabuza stays in place and the board?
Then it means the country must brace itself for collapse, because Jabu Mabuza declared he can't save Eskom.
All right, thank you very much. Cosatu's first